We might have, if we have the live stream up, we might have quorum with whoever is online as well.
Live stream just started.
Evelyn, can you take account of who's present real quick, please? 33? Participating members? So we need 40 for quorum. How many do we have? 45 in this room. We have quorum. Why is, I'm not, the link for congregational meeting is showing the worship service. Okay, we are live now. 10 online. Okay, it looks like we have quorum. Let's officially begin this congregational meeting of 2026. Next slide. This is today's agenda. We will listen to the State of the Mission address. We will discuss the congregational leadership slate that is being presented. We will share the proposed operating budget for the upcoming fiscal year. We will give you information on updated bylaws that we are suggesting, and then we will close in prayer. And so let's get started with our State of the Mission address. The first item on the agenda. And go to the next slide, please. And then one more slide. According to our bylaws, the duties of the chair of the Mission Council include providing a mission update at the annual congregational meeting, which is a progress report of last year's work and priorities for the coming year. Now, I will share that we do not currently have a sitting Mission Council chair. Maggie Adams was our Mission Council chair, and she resigned from that position a few months ago. And so in her place, I will be delivering the State of the Mission address. So if you'll bear with me, I need to switch screens here now. And I confess that when I wrote this, it sure sounded an awful lot like a second sermon. So I'm going to try to not sermonize again. It is true that another year has flown by. Can you believe that we are already at our congregational meeting? And I can guarantee you that as we gather here for our annual meeting, it will be the most exciting annual meeting that is happening inside these walls today. I know that nobody, maybe aside from Mac 5, has ever said, "Honey, clear our Sunday afternoon schedule because it's bylaw review time." I will say that today, as I mentioned in the sermon, isn't primarily about reports or budgets or motions. This is an opportunity for us to tell the story of what God has been doing through this congregation. If you only come on Sunday mornings, and I confess that I understand that sometimes that's enough to wear you out, and that's all we can do. But if that's all our experience is, we might just think that Downey Avenue is just a group of people who gather together for an hour or more on one day a week, drink a little coffee together, and then quietly go home, and that's it. That's who we are. But I think that nothing could be further from the truth. That notion could not be further from the truth. This building has been and is gloriously alive in many ways. This year, these halls have echoed with the voices of the Aria de Capo Theater Group, Irvington Community Schools choirs and theater students, the joyful sounds of the Happy Harpers and the Dulcimer Society, Girl Scouts from School 57, Boy Scout troops, the Irvington Halloween Festival planning team, MAD camp organizers, and so many others. Sometimes, if you walk through this building on a weekday evening, you honestly have no idea what you were about to discover. It might be an orchestra recital. It might be a karate class, a counseling appointment, a Bible study, a community meeting, children laughing, someone praying. And somehow, it all works together and makes sense, because that's who we are. We continue to open these doors because our mission isn't simply to have a church building, but to be a community resource. Our mission is to be transformed by God's radical love, to build a welcoming church, a just community, and a sustainable world. And that mission has been alive this year. We celebrated another incredible year of our children and family programming quest. With our partners from the Indiana region, we launched the program's third year. Our concerts in the courtyard, as I mentioned earlier, once again filled our campus with music, with laughter, and with neighbors who may never attend a worship service here, but have found themselves welcomed on holy ground anyway. We strengthened partnerships with Hernley Family Karate, with the Downey Cooperative Preschool, and with Paeka, is that how Jane says her last name? Paeka Counseling. Relationships that remind us that ministry doesn't only happen inside a sanctuary. We hosted Church Women United. We hosted the Greater Indianapolis Disciples Alliance. We hosted Harry Potter and the Sacred Text with special guest John Green. We opened our doors for one of the community conversations surrounding the proposed data center nearby. Do you notice a pattern there? People know that when something important is happening in Irvington, Downey is one of the places where it belongs. That's not accidental. That's years of faithful people saying yes to being hospitable. We also celebrated traditions this year that have become part of the Downey DNA. You know what I'm talking about, of course. The hog roast is on that list. The I Can Lenten Soup series. An Advent season filled with music and wonder and enough joy to convince perfectly reasonable adults that worshiping in pajamas the Sunday after Christmas is a terrific idea. There's the Easter egg hunt, the euchre tournament, where depending on who you ask, Christian character was either strengthened or tested. Throughout the year, people found community in things like yoga classes, sound baths, leadership retreats, pub theology, the family fellowship group, takeaway talks, Tuesday Bible study, Downey Academy classes, reading circles, artist gatherings, craft nights, and countless conversations. This church understands something important. That faith isn't only formed in these chairs here in this one room. Sometimes it's formed around a table. Sometimes faith is formed on a yoga mat. Sometimes it's while making art. Sometimes while asking difficult questions or while laughing with people who become your family. Faith takes place in so many ways. We also, this past year, cared for the main asset that God has entrusted to us. It's maybe less exciting, but it's very noticeable. Some very large trees came down before they came down. You know what I mean? We had some HVA systems that were replaced. Roofs were replaced. That one's a work in progress, I confess, but we will get there. The flat roof. The bane of my existence. The bane of Steve Barnard's existence as well, I'm sure. We had an enormous basement cleanup that reminded us that there are items, apparently, that are capable of surviving multiple pastoral tenures. And now, as we speak, a beautiful mural is transforming part of our campus into a visible proclamation of hope and Downey's presence here. Speaking of outside, our Grow in Peace Garden continues to become exactly what its name promises. A place where the earth itself joins in ministry. It's even being featured in the upcoming issue of the Indiana Christian, the quarterly newsletter for our region of the Christian church. A reminder that people beyond Irvington are noticing what is growing here. Now, beside every visible ministry, there are faithful teams at work. Social justice, stewardship, finance, nominations, bylaws, worship, youth, property, and so many others. Some ministries receive applause. Others quietly do things like make sure the lights stay on, make sure that the bills get paid, make sure that policies get updated. And somehow communion just appears every Sunday, exactly where it's supposed to be. Every one of those ministry gifts matters. Our partnership with ICANN, the Irvington Congregational Advocacy Network, has continued to flourish, particularly with Brady stepping into leadership there. Did you know Brady is the new director of ICANN? He is bringing fresh energy, compassion, and a vision to that role. And together we've expanded our commitment to the food pantry and the assistance center through increased financial support, growing volunteer involvement, and deeper partnership. And speaking of Brady, I want to speak about Brady a little bit more. As you know, this year we said goodbye to Adam, a beloved staff member here, and we welcomed Brady into his role. It's true that staff transitions are never easy. And the truth is also that ministry is beyond any position, any one person in a position. It has been a joy to watch Brady become part of the fabric of this congregation in the way that he has. Amen? Yes. And perhaps no moment captured that sentiment better than the opportunity that our youth had to witness their own faith formation leader be baptized in our congregation this year. That's a memory that they will carry with them for a very long time. This year we welcomed new people to our community through things like our Downey 101 gatherings, through our sanctuary worship experiences on Sunday evenings. Drag bingo was a hit. We've given out enough volunteer gift bags filled with brownie mix to keep Irvington supplied with chocolate for months. Apparently hospitality tastes better with brownies. We celebrated graduations. We blessed backpacks. We walked together through Maundy Thursday, Good Friday, Holy Saturday, and Easter morning. We sent children and youth to camp where lives were changed, where friendships were deepened, and faith took root in ways that will continue to unfold for years to come. In fact, if I may say personally, my daughter went to camp a couple weeks ago. As a result of the connections that she has made there, she's been invited to deliver the call to worship at our regional assembly coming up in October that I talked about. And I say that to say it's only because she grew her faith in that time at camp that they noticed in her a deep desire to be connected to this church and to God. And so they invited her to do that out of that relationship. So that's a beautiful thing that you helped make possible. Perhaps one of the most beautiful reminders of who we are is that this year we held or participated in 8 memorial services for those who have passed on. 8 times we gathered with grieving families. 8 times we proclaimed hope in dark days. 8 times we reminded one another that love is stronger than death. And at the same time, with those 8 losses, this building has hosted literally dozens of birthday parties and weddings this year, and baby showers and graduation celebrations for high school graduates and college graduates. I hope you think about that, from first birthdays to final farewells, from baptisms to memorials, from graduations to wedding days and to baby showers. This church has become woven into the fabric of our lives and into the fabric of the lives of the people who live here in Irvington and even beyond. That is sacred work, beloved ones. Beyond these walls, your leaders have continued growing as disciples and leaders through conferences that you've supported, through workshops and justice initiatives, through generosity training, environmental education, continuing education that nurtures the gifts of ministry leaders. Personally, I have had the privilege of representing this congregation throughout Indiana and beyond. As the president of the board of the Irvington Community Advocacy Network, as a board member for the University of Indianapolis's Compelling Preaching Initiative, as the chairperson for the Indiana Commission on Ministry, as a board member for the Indiana region of the Christian Church Disciples of Christ, as a leader in the Indiana Faith Voices for Justice Faith Initiative, and many other opportunities that you have given to me. But if you ask me what matters most, I would say it's probably not the committees, although they're important and you should do them. It isn't conferences. It is sitting in hospital rooms with people who are in the worst moments of their lives, sharing prayer in living rooms, holding hands through grief, celebrating together an answered prayer, attending those birthday parties and graduation parties, walking beside people through ordinary days and through holy moments. That's where church becomes real and becomes family. So that's Downey's state of the mission for what we have done. So now what's next? Probably a lot of what you just heard. A lot of those same things will continue on for this coming year, and also some new things. We will say goodbye to our beloved music minister and bring on someone new to help lead us in that department. We will continue investing more deeply into our community partnerships, doing good work for justice and for neighbor care. Our ICANN food pantry has eliminated geographic boundaries to those that we serve. That's right. So now you do not have to show that you live here in the 46219 to get food assistance. Anyone is welcome. We mean that, and we stand by that. We'll continue caring for this beautiful campus and the land entrusted to us. We'll continue expanding, and Cody Ladd, you'll see his name come up. He has some great ideas on how we can do that. We'll continue expanding opportunities for spiritual formation and pastoral care. New small groups will pop up around you this year. I hope that you take advantage of participating in those life-changing group learning, faith formation opportunities. We'll continue reimagining how our ministry teams work, not as isolated communities protecting their own territory, but as partners serving in one shared mission together. Here's something important. What we don't want to do is more, just to do more. Busy is not the same thing as faithful. So we don't want to be busy, we want to be faithful. Some beloved programs may eventually give way to new opportunities, not because they failed and not because they weren't meaningful, but because every generation has to ask, where is God's Spirit leading us now for this moment? If something no longer moves us faithfully toward becoming a welcoming church, a just community, and a sustainable world, then we owe it to ourselves and to future generations to ask whether our energy belongs somewhere else. And that brings us to the next question that I'd like for all of us to carry into this next program year. Not, what am I going to get out of this church? Let's not be consumers when we come into this place. But let us ask, who am I becoming through this church? Because churches are not spiritual vending machines. They are communities that shape people. People who become more compassionate as a result of being part of the community, more courageous, more generous, more joyful, more committed to justice, more deeply rooted in God's love. If that is happening here at Downey Avenue Christian Church, then the mission is working. And if that is not happening here at Downey Avenue Christian Church, then we are abandoning our mission. I want to close with this. A thank you. A deep and sincere thank you for, yes, your generosity in so many ways, including volunteer hours, for your prayers, your patience, your ideas that are brilliant, your willingness to try new things, your willingness to let go when necessary. I want to thank you for your stubborn hope, for your deep love for one another, for your deep love for this world. I want to thank you for believing that God is still creating something beautiful through this little church on Downey Avenue. The story that we are writing with God as co-authors, it's 150 years in the making, but it is just beginning. I hope that you believe that to the marrow of your bones. We are just getting started on the work that God has called us to. I hope that this year you will ask yourself, who am I invited to become? And let's lean into that together. The state of the mission at Downey Avenue Christian Church is very good. Thanks be to God. Amen. Oh, you didn't get to see, did you see all these lovely photos? Were they up there? Okay, good. So next on our agenda is the Congregational leadership slate. And, oh, that's me again. No, that's me again. All right, because Savannah cannot be here because of her father-in-law's passing, I will do this in her place. And first of all, let's give Savannah a round of applause and gratitude for 2 years of excellent leadership here as our admin council chair. She's done great work and has moved us forward in many, many ways, and so we are deeply, deeply grateful, Savannah, for all of your great work. Let's meet our proposed officers first. The nominating committee met and did incredible work and were very thorough in inviting people to consider these key leadership roles. Our proposed new officers are for Administrative Council Chair, Tom Mann. It's one of those occasions where maybe he does not want your, no, he wants your vote. He wants your vote. For Mission Council Chair, stepping in to fill in that gap graciously is Rob Bindewald. And to keep him in check in board meetings is our incoming secretary, his wife, Kate Bindewald. And then our proposed new trustee is Cody Ladd. And so we'll bring up the slide for the entire officer slate. There you go. Tom Mann, Rob Bindewald, Kate Bindewald, and Cody Ladd. And they will be joining continuing officers Don Rouse, Evelyn Johnson, and Sandy Hawk. And their roles, along with also serving on the Administrative Council, will be our elder chair. Not yet. We're not quite there yet. Will be our elder chair and deacon chair as elected by those bodies, the elders and the deacons. And so they will join these officers on the Administrative Council. And so at this point, actually no, we'll move on to the proposed elder slate now. There we go. So our proposed elder slate is Toma Baston, Michelle Butler, Stephanie Dickey, Stephen Inns, Kirk Friedley, and Sarah Jones, an incredible group of people who, some of them are joining this group for the first time, and some of them are doing this on repeat, and so we're deeply grateful for all those folks who have said yes to this important role of nurturing our community in meaningful ways. Continuing elders who will join these 6 folks is Georgianne Adams, Amy Friedley, Josh Harris, and Paula Lamy. Next is our proposed deacon slate. We have Carrie Boffman and Mara Boffman, Mika Baird, Bellamy Herman, John Neiman, and Ton Spickelmeyer. And they will be joining continuing deacons Josh Anderson, Susan Collins, Carol Commons, Stephanie Inns, Caroline Friedley, Brody Herman, Andy Whitehurst, and Josh Wilson. And so our next slide is a combination of all of the names of all of those officers and leaders, elders, and deacons. Before we vote, are there any questions on this proposed slate? Okay, if there are no questions, then we need a nomination to move forward. So, I mean a motion, excuse me. So Ben makes a motion to accept this nomination. Is that your motion, Ben? Yes. Is there a second? Jill Stewart seconds. If you are online on YouTube, you can, oh good, Stephen is already in those directions. You can cast your votes for all those who are present. Please use the next 30 seconds. For those on YouTube, we'll give them just a moment to type yes or no or abstain into that live chat for this proposed slate of leaders for 2026 through 27. All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, this is our leader slate for 26 and 27. And even Tom's wife voted online yes, so that's a relief. She's on board. She's on board. Okay, Next on our agenda is the 26-27 operating budget, and I'll just go ahead and say that part since I'm already up here. Let's see, I want to first share a deep amount of gratitude to our Stewardship Journey Committee. The next slide. We were led so faithfully by Sarah Reiteman. Sarah, wave your hand. She's up there in the sound booth today. And Donna Marks, will you stand, Donna? Cassandra Crutchfield's not here. Steve Barnard and Jamie Nicole. I'm going to make you stand too, Steve. If I make Donna stand, right? Let's give them a round of applause for their great work. So the next slide is a summary report on the stewardship journey. We had 56 total pledges. We had 11 first-time pledgers come in this year. That is a great number, first-time pledgers. We had $200,658 in total pledges from those 56 pledgers, which is a 44% increase over last year's pledges. That's huge. Your generosity is incredible. The way that you as a community responded to this stewardship journey is mind-blowing, particularly after a difficult financial year last year. It is a very different picture for us this year because of your generous hearts and spirits. And the amount of ministry that we're going to be able to do, the amount of neighbors that we're going to be able to bless is tremendous because of your great work and support. And so that is the stewardship summary report. Are there questions on that before we hand it over to our treasurer to walk us through a little more deeply? Any questions on the stewardship journey in general? Okay. Dawn, do you want me to leave this up here, or do you just want to look at the slides up there? Okay.
Hi, church family. I want to go through a little historical information first, just so as I reference it, as we go through the budget, you understand what it is I'm speaking of. We have an endowment fund, Downey Avenue Legacy Endowment Fund. Back in the 90s, we had about, 100 or so different bequests and memorials that were all in different standing accounts. They were not invested. So the board at that time decided to reach out to the survivors of those families and ask if it would be okay if we combined them all into an endowment fund so we would get some kind of investment income on that. And after a couple of years of reaching out and doing the research, they all said yes, and so those funds were all put together into an endowment fund. It's currently deposited with the Christian Church Foundation, which is one of our general units that handles investments. And it's doing very well. It's done very well over the past 30 years or so. If we can go, I think it's the next slide. Okay, this gives the endowment, I have to get to my right piece of paper here. The legacy endowment analysis. So from 1995 to 2015, we had a endowment value of $388,188, and then through the years you can see what our draws have been and what the balance has been. The accounts and the funds have again been invested very well, and we have done very well by that. According to our legacy endowment policy, we take a 5% draw every year, and that's based on the average of the last 12 quarters. And then that money is divided 50% into the operating budget, 35% into the standing fund of mission outreach, and 15% into the building fund. So that's how the funds are being used yearly. This year we'll take the draw in August, and we will be funding the mission account and the building account. Is there any question about that and what that is? Please, if you do, ask me now. Okay. Standing accounts are accounts that we hold. We have the money in our general fund account, but they are monies that have been designated for specific uses, such as food pantry, building fund, mission outreach, youth, the mural, and there's about $24,000 in those various accounts. Okay, so again, it's money that we've got, it's designated, we don't use it for general operating year to year. However, as in this past year when we had a deficit, we drew from those monies to keep us going. So again, we are trying very hard not to do that, but we will do that if we have to. Any question about standing accounts? I know I'm going through this quickly, but again, please ask if you've got a question. Okay, moving forward to the actual budget. You can go to the next slide. First of all, I want to say thanks to the Finance Committee who helped put this budget together. That is Carol Commons, Evelyn Johnson, Savannah Streever, and me. Thank you. Well, Maggie McBride, Adams McBride, was part of this group early on, so I want to acknowledge her too. But putting the budget together were the four of us. And again, I could not have done it without them. So as stated earlier, our pledge commitments this year are $200,658, which is remarkable. We have budgeted non-pledge giving based on the last few years' giving of $60,000. Other offerings, which would be loose change that we get on Sunday collections of about $2,000. And then this year we have the possibility of an interim student coming in September, and that is grant money of $3,000 that will come from that. So it gives our total income offerings of $265,658. Next slide. We have proposed other source incomes of being rent of $27,970, fundraisers and miscellaneous $2,000, refunds and rebates $2,000. This would be coming from Venmo, Venco, and our credit card awards program. So that totals $31,970. Next slide. Investment, endowment, bequest interest. We have an Edward Jones account, which is basically our capital campaign money. We are projecting about $1,000 from that account this year. Our endowment draw, our total draw will be $24,306. 50% of that will go into the operating budget, so we proposed $12,153. We have 3 accounts that are set up with Church Finance Council from former members. It's bequests. We are not owners of that account, but we receive annual gifts from their interest, and that's the Austin Fund, the Guilfoyle Fund, and the Sam Pugh Fund. So total income from endowments and bequests, $16,107. So total income, offerings, $265,658, other sources, $31,970, and endowments and bequests, $16,107, giving us a total income proposed of $313,735. So remarkable. Now let's get into the fun part, expenses. Salaries and wages, we're proposing, and let me tell you, with the income that we have, that we are expecting for this year, we were able to give the staff a 3% increase. So this represents that. Salaries and wages, $167,391. Taxes, $85.49. Payroll service, $1,095. Healthcare reimbursement, $3,600. Pension benefits, $10,769. Staff development, $950. And mileage reimbursement, $1,000, for a total of $193,354. Next slide. Expenses, general administrative overhead. And a number of these expenses have been figured as a 2 to 3% increase. Our insurance has been averaging about 3% increase every year, so this is all figured in. Insurance, $13,796. Supplies and equipment, $5,809. Financial management, $8,375. Banco and Venmo fees, $2,600. Telephone and internet, $1,300. And miscellaneous, $100, for a total of $31,980. I am working hard to get rid of all miscellaneous when it comes to expenses. I don't like to spend money if we don't know what it's going for. So I just put that in there, and we will work and figure out what that might be and correct that for the next year's budget. Next slide. Facility administrative overhead. Utilities for this campus, yearly $22,300. Security, $1,200. Building supplies, $1,950. Maintenance inspections, $4,530. Building repairs, $15,000. Yards and sidewalks, $3,500. And building host expenses, $500, for a total of $48,980. Next slide, please. Worship and faith formation. Worship supplies of $2,150. Music ministry, $59.25. Congregational fellowship, $1,200. Children's ministry, $100. Youth ministry, $1,200. Family life ministry, $1,000, for a total of $11,575. And let me stop here real quick. In addition to our Legacy Endowment Fund, we also have the Jim and Winnie Dillon Endowment Fund, which is a scholarship fund for youth. And we have not taken any money from that this year, but we will if we need to. It's for the youth, it's for scholarships, it's for youth programming. So we are not funding the youth program here on the budget line as heavy, because literally there's about $8,000 there we can draw from if needed. Okay, next slide. Expenses, mission and outreach. Community events publicity, $1,000. Website social media, $300. New member welcome ministry, $500. Ministers discretionary fund, $1,000. And the Disciples Mission Fund, $7,970. That's 3% of the $200,000 in pledged giving that goes to the Greater Christian Church Disciples of Christ to fund the general units, such as Global Ministries, Homeland Ministries, Board of Church Extension, etc. So a total of $10,770 there. Next slide. So total expenses breakdown, $193,354 for personnel and staff. General admin, $31,980. Facility admin overhead, $48,980. Worship and faith formation, $11,575. And mission and outreach, $10,770. For a total expense of $296,659. All right, next slide, please. So we have a total income of $313,735 proposed and budgeted. Expenses budgeted at $296,659, which leaves us an operating reserve of $17,076. have one more slide I want to go through before we ask for the vote. This is an analysis of what our budget versus our pledged offering has been for the last 10 years and shows the difference. So in 2016, we had a budget of $222,200, pledged offering of $205,000, so that was 92% of our pledged offering covered our budget. If you look at this year, we have a budget of $313,575 with a pledged offering of $200,498, which only covers 64% of our budget. So we're having to rely on other sources for that 36%. I just think that's an interesting piece of information that everybody should be aware of. Now let me open up for comments, questions. I'll try to answer it intelligently. Dennis? You know,
Are we on? There we go. This is probably a question that can't be answered without other people looking up numbers. One of the big things that we can't control is what we're paying in utilities based on the prices that are out there that we have to pay. What we can influence is how much that we're having to use. So I'm hoping that between trustees and all the rest, that we are looking every year for ways that energy, which we can't control, can be held in check, slowed down, but that we don't have surprises and other things. We have a lot of things happening in the world which we're all dealing with in our homes and businesses, farms, whatever. So that's an uncontrollable. I'm just urging that as we think about our building and things that we won't see, we had visions years ago in making the right decision for solar panels. But there's still a lot that can be done to kind of keep our usage in check. So I just want to say I think we're going in the right direction, but that may be a discussion that we have to look at trends and some of the realities, maybe in its own updates in our communication tools. So thank you for being very thorough. That's just one we have to think about all the time. Because it's one thing just to do all the things that we want to do. Energy will always be, and water and sewer will always be a cost that we have to consider. So thank you.
okay, anybody else?
Thank you. I just wanted to follow up on the last comment you made about the differing percentage in terms of how our pledges are contributing to the budget. I wondered if anybody's had time to drill down into that at all. Do you think it has to, for example, how does the number of members we have now compare with 2016? Or are people giving more? I don't know. Are there any factors within that anybody's had time to think about? I'm just curious.
We've looked into some of that. I don't have the figures right here in front of me as far as the membership, who were giving in 2016 versus who's giving now. Membership is up, so we have more to draw from, but at the same time, with the world economy, a lot of people are not able to give as much as they would like to, or what they have given in the past. And yet others have been very faithful in their giving, and it's been remarkable. So again, we have not drilled down, but it's something that we have looked for. I've not put together a report, but maybe that's something we can do in the next year.
Yeah, I have done some research on that, and in communication with other faith leaders and church leaders around the globe, have been in groups processing that, because it's not a Downey Avenue thing, it's a Christian Church in America trend. And so we were fortunate to get ahead of that trend in some ways and realize that our greatest asset is our building, and how can we how can we leverage our building? And so that's why we've increased our desire to bring in community partners who benefit from using the building, but also pay something and help contribute back to that enhanced energy usage and the growing expenses that we incur. And other way, trying to still diversify ways that we increase that revenue, because we're seeing that across. What's happening in churches is that the 10% tithe that motivated church in America from 1950 through about 1980 is no longer the norm. And so those folks who grew up in that generation are not around any longer, or have realized that the cost versus the inflation versus the power of the dollar has not been equal. And so we're seeing those trends. Membership is up over 2016. And so it's not about growing people. It's just a culture shift in America that we're experiencing. And a culture shift in the church, too, and in Downey Avenue Christian Church, that we give what we can, as opposed to what used to happen was giving off the top of what we earned. And I don't mean that in a judgmental or negative way at all.
Right.
It's just the reality.
Yeah. Any other questions? Okay. Go to the next slide if you would. So the Administrative Council is asking the congregation to make a motion to approve the budget for 2026-27 as proposed.
I move to approve the budget as proposed.
Okay, so Rob is moving. A second? Sandy Hawk is seconding. All right, we'll give the virtual viewers 30 seconds to vote by typing yes, no, or abstain. No votes, okay.
Only yes votes.
Now, I know it says by show of hands, but let's do it by voice as we did the last vote. Those who are in favor of passing this motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Anyone abstaining? You're abstaining? Yeah. All right.
Brady?
Yes, okay. So Brady and Melody are abstaining. All right. Thank you very much again. Thank you, everybody, for your support this past year. I'll be communicating on a monthly basis of where we are in our journey. And again, if you have any questions, please reach out to me and I'll answer them or get you whatever information I can. All right? Tom?
Cannot believe my wife voted for me. She wants me out of the house more. That's what it is. All right, next up is updated bylaws. You can go to the next slide. So it's been quite some time since we did a systemic look at our bylaws and our policies. So since 2018, a lot has changed. The world has changed. The church has changed quite a bit since 2018. So the admin council chair, Savannah, pulled together a few people that I want to recognize here. Mac Fife, me, Don Rouse, and Tone Spickelmeyer. And let me tell you, you have not been to an exciting meeting until you have heard Don and Mac talk about may versus shall for 20 minutes. I said, you know what, let's just go back to King James. Let's write everything in thee and thou and thy, and let's do some smiting while we're at it. So thank you to this crew. I did actually really enjoy being a part of that and having those conversations. So from those meetings, that group brought together several different updates to a few different policies just to make sure that our documentation and our guiding documents reflect reality and just reflect the world that the church operates in today. Next up, please. All right. So in the bylaws, the trustees, the number has always been 4. We are recommending to bring that down to 3, simply because we need an odd number. We haven't had a hung jury, or whatever the admin council equivalent of that is, but we need an odd number in case there is a close vote, so that way we can decide who actually is the majority. We also clarified the legal role of what trustee means. There is language in the Indiana Law Code that governs that, as we are an Indiana organization. So per Indiana law, quote, by Indiana law, trustees are the responsible entity for tangible assets of Downey Avenue Christian Church, end quote. Now, let me tell you, that is specific legislative language right there. All right, next slide. We also wanted to address, throughout our bylaws, we call out a number of positions, and we needed to make sure that we had a section in there about unexpected vacancies. So, as you see here, upon the vacancy of whatever position, we tried to, copy and paste that as much as possible. The Administrative Council shall convene a special nominating committee to select a candidate for approval by the congregation at a special congregational meeting. That applies to Admin Council Chair, Mission Council Chair, trustees, and Secretary, Treasurer, yeah. It does not apply to the elders or deacons. The elders and deacons are responsible for selecting their own chairs. That is something that will continue. Next slide. On the Mission Council side of the bylaws, the language was, we have a Mission Council, and it's full of representatives of official ministry groups. And then we moved on. That's a little too squishy. So we've put in some language here. I can read it if you want me to, but if you can read it on the screen, basically what we're just trying to do is build some structure around that, make sure that it's clear so that we understand what a ministry is, how the Mission Council is put together, and then how that Mission Council represents the work and coordinates the work of the church. Do you want me to read this, or is everybody pretty clear? Okay. Kirk is emphatically shaking his head no. Please, God, stop speaking. All right, next slide. And then for our elders, this reflects the reality, the size of the congregation, and the reality of how successful we are in getting folks to sign up to be elders each nominating season. So we've reduced the number of elders from 12 down to 10. We have 10 currently. We do a pretty good job. We could all do a little bit better, but we do a pretty good job with that number. So rather than going into nominating season and having open slots that we have not been able to fill, this gives us a little bit of grace. All right, next slide. So this is what I just finished talking about. We're reducing the number of trustees and clarifying what it means to be a trustee. Added some information around vacancies, clarified the role of official ministry groups, and reduced the number of elders from 12 to 10. We'll move to the next slide, but I want to ask if there are any questions while we are preparing to vote. Okay. All right. So the Admin Council is asking the congregation to make a motion to approve the updates to the bylaws as proposed. Do we have a motion? Carol Commons moves. Do we have a second? Steve Barnard seconds. Those online can take the next 30 seconds to vote in the comments section, aye, nay, or abstain. Yes, no, okay, see, I'm King James, I'm telling you, we go back, let's smite up in here. Yes, no, or abstain. Okay, the online folks say yes. I guess they don't say aye, but they do say yes. All right, so for a voice vote here, all those in favor say yes. Yes. Any opposed? Any abstain? All right. If we can move to the next slide, that brings us into the closing prayer. Do you want me to do it? You want to do it? Okay. Just to take a moment and again thank all of the leadership, those who are continuing and those who have finished up. I want to give a special thank you to Savannah, who has done an outstanding job leading the admin council over the next 2 years, and I can only hope to try to match that energy and grace that she brought into the role. So thank you, leaders, thank you, staff, thank you, Melody and Brady, and thank you, church. Next slide. Okay. All right, let's pray. Loving God, we are grateful for the community at Downey Avenue Christian Church, where we are safe to be ourselves and bring both our greatest joys and deepest burdens. May the beginning of another year help us work together through whatever new challenges come our way as we seek to more fully become the people you have made us to be. Empower our new leaders with your wisdom and guidance that they may lead us boldly to bring our mission and vision to life and steward our resources with integrity and purpose. Help us create whole and draw the circle wide as we commit ourselves alongside one another to be transformed by God's radical love, to build a welcoming church, a just community, and a sustainable world. Amen. Thus ends the congregational meeting of 2026. Thank you, Downey.